My name is Tani Sundermeyer. This is for lesson plan on Module 2, identifying letter sounds with the names of the letters. All right, Evelyn. So today we are going to practice knowing the letter sounds just based on the letter names. And so we need to know what letters sound like because that helps us read and write, right? Do you like to read? I like to read too. So when we're practicing letter sounds, letters are super friendly to us because they give us a trick. When you say a letter name, sometimes the letter name tells us and helps us out with what their sound sounds like. So before we go over letter sounds, can you tell me what these letter names are?
B, K, M, F, B, M, K, M, F, B, B, M, F, K, F, M, K, B, M, F, B.
Good job. Now I'm going to go in a random order, okay?
F, B, K, M, B, F, K.
Good job. So now we're going to practice on learning what each letter sounds like. So not what the name is, just what that letter sounds like. So, do you remember earlier when I just said that letters are super friendly to us because they like to tell us what their sound is in their name? Do you know what the name of this letter is?
B.
B. Okay, so I want you to say the word B again.
B.
B. In the word B, there are two sounds, B-E, B-E. What is the very first sound we hear when we say B-E?
B.
B. And guess what? That's what the letter B says, B. So the letter B was being super friendly and letting us know that the very first sound you hear when you say B is the sound that the letter itself makes. So now these letters are also letters that when we say them, the very first sound we hear is the sound that they make. And so the super important part that we have to remember is the very first sound we hear is what the letter says. So this is a review. What does B say?
B.
B. And we know that because in the word B, the very first sound we hear is B, right? What letter is this?
T. T.
T. So with your fingers, can you go T-E?
E.
T. What's the very first sound we hear when we say T-E? T. Good job. Okay, now I want you to try to do K by yourself.
A.
K. A. Good job. What's the first sound that we hear in K? K. And what does the letter K sound like? K. Good job. All right, let's do this one.
J.
Ooh, look at that one again. You're close. What letter is that? What's the letter name?
D.
D. All right. So with our fingers.
D. E.
And what's the first sound we hear?
D.
D. And what does the letter D sound like?
D.
D. Good job. We'll do, what's this one?
Z.
Z. All right. Now you try.
E.
And what's the first one?
Z.
Z. So what must that say?
Z.
Z. Z. Let's try that one again. Z. Z. E. That one's tricky. Z. E. And what's the first sound we hear? Z. And so what does Z say? Z. Good job. So these letters, can you say these letters with me?
B. T. K. D. Z. J. P. V.
Good job. All of these letters are giving us the hint that the very first sound that we hear in their letter name is the sound that they make. Okay? Well, now there are different letters that tell us their sound at the end of their name. Okay? So, hey, give me your eyes. These letters were the first. Now we're doing the last. What letter is this? What letter is this?
M.
M. Okay, so what do we hear when we say M? Well, what does M say? Okay, so when I say does the first sound that I hear is eh? What about you? What do you hear? Does M say eh?
No.
No, it says what? Okay, so M is a letter that the very last sound that we hear is what our letter says, okay? What is this letter? Okay, let's put this down for a second. We can practice writing after. This is F. Will you show me on your fingers what we hear when we say F? F. Okay, so if we're thinking about the last sounds, what does the letter F say? F, right? Because in F is the last sound that we hear. Perfect. So now we're gonna do the same thing that we did up here with these, okay? So what is this letter?
F.
And what does it say? Good job. What is this letter? Let's put this down for a second. What is this letter? M. Can you use your fingers with me? What's this one?
L.
L. What sounds do we hear in L?
O.
O. So what's the last sound we hear in O?
O.
And what does L say?
O.
Let's try this letter.
S.
Okay, show me on your fingers, what do you hear?
S.
And what does S say? Like a snake. Good job. So sometimes it's tricky for us to know if we're gonna look for the beginning sounds or the ending sounds, but it's super cool that letters kind of give us like a little secret, like, hey, this is what my letter sounds like, right? Hey, what does B sound like?
B.
B. What about N? Because N is the last sound that we hear.
Neat.
Good job.
Neat.
Okay, so we're gonna reflect. Do you know what reflect means? Hey, look at me. Do you know what reflect means? That means that we're gonna go back and look on what we learned. So can you try and remember what is the trick that letters do for us when we're trying to think of the sound that they make? There are two tricks.
They can put their sound in front of the other letters or behind the other letters.
Yeah, good job. That was such a good answer. So you're exactly right. The letters put their sounds either in the beginning or the end, and that's just to give us a little help so we know what our letter sounds sound like. Okay, perfect. All right, Evelyn, I think we're all done. You did fantastic. Can I have a high five? Good job.